Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Hello and welcome to Nirmal Bang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Dr. Sunil Kumar Sinha, Principal Economist at India Ratings and Research, joining in. Welcome to the show, Sunil, and a pleasure to speak to you as well. Sunil, my first question coming to you is, last couple of years, since the time GST has been in picture, usually the budget has been a non-event. However, taking these unprecedented times with regards to COVID into consideration, the bar has been raised, the expectations have gone up, and a lot of focus has come in on the budget once again. What would your assessment be of the same?
Let me start with your comment on GST. It is true that budget is no longer looked at a document where there will be a lot of changes in the the tax rates, which used to be one of the major event or concern for everyone. Since that has gone out and now is part of the GST Council, typically those issues do not figure in the budget. However, the relevance of the budget for the economy continues to be as important as it was earlier, because in the Indian context, budget is not simply the overall income and expenditure statement of the government. It is much more than that. It actually gives a sense as to what is the thought process of the government in terms of steering the economy for the entire year, and even sometimes in the short to medium term. And since this budget is going to be presented against the backdrop of COVID-19 pandemic, and we have had a fairly tough fiscal year 21, although government did announce an economic package to overcome some of the difficulties. But as the economy is recovering, I think the expectation from the budget at the current moment is that what budget can really do, not only to put the economy back on track, but also provide a sense to the different economic agents as to which way the government would, or in which way the government would steer the economy, and how quickly can it put it back on, growth path, which is considered to be something which is absolutely critical to not only create employment, but also to attain our dream $5 trillion economic agenda.
Right. So, taking the point that you made into consideration, do you think that the budget 2021 will be able to provide a booster dose for growth by, say, focusing on government spending from here on?
When I look back and see the government measures that were announced over several months in the current fiscal, clearly the package in size was significantly large. I mean, close to about 29 trillion Indian rupees, if you include both RBI and government initiative. But the fact of the matter is that the direct fiscal stimulus coming out of this entire economic package was still very minimal. I mean, as compared to many other countries. I mean, according to our estimate, it is something very close to about somewhere between 2 to 3% of the GDP. Now, there can be, debate that perhaps, government should have spent more, or should have given a direct stimulus which is much higher than whatever 2 to 3%. But the fact of the matter is that even before the pandemic began and country went into the lockdown, the government was staring at a fiscal constraint, because it has had to used the escape clause even to present its fiscal year 21 budget. And as the pandemic began, it became obvious that the 3.5% fiscal deficit to GDP ratio, which government has budgeted for 21, will not get realized. And according to our estimate, it is likely to be about 7% of the GDP. This is not to say that most of the measures that were announced by the government were not needed. Certainly, they were needed because they were more focused in terms of correcting the supply side of the economy. But now that to a large extent we have achieved that, and we know that economy is now getting back, and in many cases, some of the indicators are showing that the size of the production has almost reached the pre-COVID level. Perhaps it is time to change the gear and focus on the demand side.
Absolutely.
Because if you remember, one of the reason why the fiscal year 20 growth turned out to be 4.2% was that the consumption demand has dwindled. So consumption demand is something which is still a concern right now, and will continue to be a concern even going forward. And so long as that does not get the support of the government, the recovery will not be a sustainable one.
Right. So very rightly pointed out that, the various measures that have been announced by the government and the RBI, all of them somewhere have been successful in restoring the supply side, issues. And now adequate amount of reforms or adequate amount of measures need to be taken to restore the demand side of, from here on. Okay, so on those basis, Sunil, what would you recommend that the government needs to do first and foremost in order to revive the demand?
Reviving demand is not going to be easy because, as I said earlier, the consumption demand had slowed down even in fiscal year 20. The COVID-19 pandemic has only aggravated it, and has also induced some kind of sentiment amongst the consumer, which will not go away very easily. And any kind of tax benefit, if it is given to the population to induce them to spend more, probably is not going to work because because of the risk aversion that has set in across the board, including the household. So what, in my view, at the moment needs to be done to revive the consumption demand is, firstly, government must undertake the expenditure which can really put more money into the pockets of the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, because their propensity to save is almost zero. Means whatever they will get, they will spend. So that is what government should be doing. So some of the welfare measures which government had undertaken in the current fiscal year must be continued, and if needed should be strengthened in fiscal year 22. Secondly, government should focus on infrastructure projects whose gestation period are short, in the sense that the turnaround could be 8 to 9 months to 1 year, and also can generate employment at the bottom of the pyramid. So a lot of rural works and so on and so forth. So this is something which government should focus essentially to, improve the aggregate demand in the economy. Certainly, that demand is not going to help much the consumer durable sector to that extent. But nevertheless, if firstly the consumer non-durable revives, then gradually it can seep into other sectors of the economy, like, from there on, basic goods, consumer durables, and then eventually the capital goods. That's the classical recovery path.
Right. So overall, with this, Sunil, if there is absence of adequate demand, do you think that's something that could jeopardize the recovery? Because if you see in terms of the data that is coming out as well, the IIP in the month of November clearly shows that there is that summit of fragility that is ongoing. Do you think that is a concerning area? Because though we saw positive growth for 2 consecutive months, the IIP for November did give us a contraction.
You are absolutely right. That's something which should worry the policymakers, simply because the 2 months of growth that we saw to some extent can be attributed to the pent up demand as well as the festival demand. But as we are now moving beyond the festival demand, something has to be done so that the recovery that we have seen is sustained. It doesn't get, let's say, or it doesn't dies down its own death. So that is why I was kind of saying that it is contingent upon the fiscal year 22 budget to move in that direction and provide the necessary support to the incipient recovery from the demand side.
Right. And then with this, another aspect that we're looking at with regards to, increasing consumer spending as well is that one bit is everyone has expected that the recovery that would come in, or we are seeing right now, is mainly from rural India. Urban is something which is yet to pick up. Do you think that's something that the government needs to focus on as well?
Well, rural demand has been on an upswing simply because, if you really look back and see, this is one of those, years when we have had at least 4 or 5 consecutive good harvest, which has certainly put a significant amount of money into the pockets of rural population. And to some extent, that piece is playing out in terms of the demand that we are seeing in case of tractor sales, in case of motorcycle sales, and so on and so forth. But and we are expecting another good Rabi harvest. So that simply means that somewhere the rural, consumption demand will remain somewhat intact even in the coming months. But one must also understand that rural demand in itself cannot be a substitute for the shortfall in the urban demand, because the size of the rural demand, firstly, is skewed in terms of goods and services they purchase, and secondly, that agriculture share in the overall GDP is just about 16-17%. So to expect that that income itself will take care of the demand which gets generated out of services industry will be misplaced. So while the continuation of the rural demand will certainly support the recovery or the ongoing recovery, but it will not be a replacement for the urban demand. And that is where government needs to not only focus on putting more money into the people at the bottom of the pyramid only in the rural areas, but also in the urban areas. I mean, so it has to really think in terms of reviving both. And at the same time, I guess, as the pandemic subsides, vaccination, continues, many of the pessimism that urban consumer have at the moment in terms of their outlook for their jobs, for economy, etc., will automatically go away. But all in all, in my view, it will take its own time, no matter what government does.
Right. So, how important, according to you, is personal and company level tax structure change? Because again, with this, we're already staring at another COVID cess that could be in the offing. Do you think a structural change on the tax front, in terms of the personal tax, is also required?
Look, personal tax, I mean, it's not too long ago that the government had announced a fair amount of say concession, or they almost changed the entire corporate tax structure, which had been the demand of the industry for quite some time, or corporate sector, in the hope that most of the savings which corporates would do as a result of the new tax structure will probably find its way into stepped up investment. But we know that nothing of that sort happened, and most of that savings which corporate sector did was either to shore up their cash reserves or to repair their balance sheet. So similarly, at this juncture, where the consumer sentiment is down and out, putting more money into the hands of the people who are not, who have propensity to save, typically would end up saving it rather than spending it. So that's why if at all these measures have to be taken, then perhaps this is not the time. This is the time when you may retain the current income tax structure, but focus more on putting money into the hands of the people who don't have the propensity to save. So in any case, whatever money they get, they will spend. So that is what will spur the demand. But once economy has come back to normal, then perhaps all these measures can be looked into to further sustain and accelerate the growth process.
Right. And then overall with this, Sunil, what do you think of the real estate sector, infrastructure as a whole? Because for infrastructure, again, I think government spending versus private capex is more important right now. That needs to come in. Real estate as well, I think a lot has been done so far because interest rates are low now. A lot of other support is coming in for the developers as well. And very lastly, with MSMEs, if you have to consider these three brackets, what are the key aspects that need to be considered, and what are you expecting?
Well, the economic package that has been announced so far, there have been a number of measures that have been announced to support the MSME sector as well as the real estate sector. And in some of the cases, say, for example, the restructuring of loans or the interest rate moratorium, which RBI had announced. Both of them have ended now. So what government needs to do is that there needs to be another round of assessment of the MSME sector as well as the real estate sector, and based on that assessment, government should decide whether some of the leeway which was given to them needs to be continued, and if continued, how long it should be continued, and also if there are anything more that is required for these sectors in terms of policy support, whether from RBI or through the fiscal measures. So all of that needs to be made part and parcel of this budget, simply because the MSME sector although has benefited, but as we know that this is a sector which, even under the normal circumstances, we're finding accessing the organized sector, the credit very difficult. And during this period, most of the liquidity measures which government had announced and made available to the corporate sector has been largely lapped up by the large corporates. Very little has actually percolated to MSME sector. Of course, they have benefited from the moratorium on interest rate and so on and so forth. But in terms of access to credit, they are still, starved. So what more needs to be done should be looked into and should be made part of. The same is the case with the real estate. A lot has been done, but a lot more has to be done in terms of ensuring that whatever benefit they have got, and they are passing it on the consumer, as a result of which we saw that a fair amount of home loans were disbursed by the home loan companies in the month of October, November, get sustained over the next at least a year and a half, which is what then will pull the real estate sector out of the current mess.
Right. And then with this, Sunil, another aspect that we need to consider is on the expenditure front. Do you think reprioritizing the expenditure should be a priority during this budget? Will it be? And secondly, on that front as well, do you think they will have to remain accommodative on that front?
Certainly. I mean, if the expected income is not on the expected lines, then obviously the committee or expected expenditure must also be accordingly, reprioritized. But the fact of the matter is that a fair amount of expenditure of the union government is of committed variety, in the sense that when I say committed variety, then the fees, the interest rate payment, the pensions. I mean, these are a committed expenditure of the government, no matter which way you would like to look at it. I mean, these are something which government cannot defer. However, we saw that once the pandemic began and the close down began, several governments did come out with some measures whereby either they deferred the salary payments, or they put a freeze on the dearness allowance, and so on and so forth. But that is not going to continue for a long. And even if it has been freezed in the past, I mean, government will have to now release it. So to that extent, committed expenditure will still eat away a lot of government revenue. So government, whatever revenue is left with the government after meeting the committed expenditure, then needs to be spent very judiciously. And it is here that I believe, and if you go back and look at some of the past budgets, then in those budgets, you will find that some very minuscule amount has been sanctioned to a large number of schemes. I mean, perhaps it is time to revisit those, because those schemes with such meager, allocation, in any case, were not becoming very effective. So maybe, reprioritization simply means that look into those, expenditure, at least put a hold on that, and consolidate the expenditure on those areas which are essential in nature, not only from providing the support to the life and livelihood, but also in terms of accelerating the growth process in the economy. So focus on those expenditure. And that's why I said that perhaps, focusing on schemes like MNREGA, focusing on rural works like rural roads, rural housing, even in urban areas, low-cost housing or affordable housing, etc. These are the areas where the consolidated expenditure on the part of the government should be focused, so that the impact on the economy is much larger. And it really helps the overall aggregate demand and revival of the economy.
Right. So that's on the expenditure side. If you have to come back on the revenue side, number one, on the non-tax revenues, how important, according to you, is the decision in with regards to divestment? And secondly, what's your expectation on the tax revenue front? Do you think an excise duty probably could be rolled back, taking a rise in crude prices?
On the revenue side, obviously two components, tax and non-tax. Hoping that the growth will be much better than last year. If not in level terms, we'll be back to FY20 level. But certainly in terms of growth, YOY level, our expectation is that FY22 GDP growth will be 9.6%. So with the growth revival, the tax revenue in any case will be, or tax collection will in any case be better than fiscal year 21. So that is one source of revenue which government can look at it. But given the enormity of the task ahead, it is quite obvious that expenditure will be significantly higher. And so government will need additional revenue. And that revenue, in our view, can come from the non-tax side. The usual, dividends which receives from RBI or many central government undertakings, those will continue. But in real terms, the delta can actually come from the disinvestment, which has been kind of budgeted very aggressively every year, but seldom the budget have been able to achieve that. And one of the criticism has been that why should government sell its family silver cheap? But if one looks at the market valuation today, then certainly markets are at an all-time high. So if you are selling the shares of some of the public sector undertakings, they will get a fairly good valuation. So by selling less amount of stake, you can actually garner higher amount of revenue. So that is something which government must focus. And that can certainly give the government that delta, which it can then probably use it for some of the expenditure, whether it is spending on the vaccination program or further strengthening the public health, etc., etc.
Right. So with this, if you have to really talk about where the government's external net borrowings are concerned, do you think that could remain elevated if you have to consider FY22?
Yes, certainly. I mean, the fiscal year 21 borrowing of government is also going to be way higher than what was budgeted. The budgeted gross fiscal deficit was 7.8%, but somewhere in between, government said that they will borrow 12 lakh crores. But if one looks at the government figure from April to November, government has actually borrowed even more than 12 lakh crore. So clearly, the borrowing will remain elevated even in fiscal year 22, given the issues that are at the moment in hand for the government, and everyone is looking up to the government to support the economy. So to that extent, fiscal deficit, according to our calculation for fiscal year 22, is likely to be around 6.2%. Certainly higher than what the FRBM or any other say fiscal finance commission recommends. But I think these are unprecedented times. So unprecedented times also require unprecedented measures. So if in that segment has to keep the fiscal deficit at and incur higher fiscal deficit, it should not be much of a problem, because if you are able to bring the growth back on track, and if economy goes back to 7% sustained rate of growth, then my own sense is that most of the aberration that we are going to see in the fiscal deficit right now will automatically get corrected in the medium term, simply because the fiscal consolidation in the Indian context has never been driven by the expenditure compression. It has always driven by the revenue augmentation. And revenue augmentation would be possible only if the GDP growth accelerates. So that's what should be the focus. And once the government, through its fiscal measure, is able to do that, then I'm pretty sure that in the medium term, the fiscal deficit aberration will automatically get corrected.
Absolutely. I think these are focus areas. And Sunil, very lastly, anything from our discussion that we've missed according to you, which someone should be watching out for in the budget according to you?
One of the things that I guess government will have to do, although it has been doing all along, is that perhaps it will have to allocate once again a significant amount of money for recapitalization of the bank, because the fiscal year 21, although was a tough year for banks, but nevertheless, because of the moratorium and many other measures announced by the RBI and government, we did not see too much of delinquencies, but as these schemes come to an end or are not extended, and we enter into the fiscal year 22, we will, come across, or we will see, the delinquencies, started happening in the system, which will certainly put, the capital of the banks under pressure. And many of the banks, if they don't meet the capital adequacy norms, then suddenly their ability to support and provide credit will not be there. So to ensure that under the ongoing recovery, the banks continue to play the supportive role, government will have to take a preemptive measure and recapitalize the banks, so that even if some of the loans goes bad, at least they continue to meet the capital adequacy norms and continue to lend.
Absolutely. I think these are few factors that need to be considered. Thank you, Sunil, so much for joining us on the show. Great insights and great understanding that we've picked up, as well as to what we could expect on a macro front from the budget. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as well, and hoping to speak to you once again once the budget is announced, to understand as to what has been achieved, what is not achieved, and what are the positives coming out of it. Thank you so much, and stay safe.